Welcome to week 3 of USVN, our week 2 NFL Roundup, week 3 outlook. We are discussing all things national security state, and we've got our big cheerleader here in a, I don't know, diver's mask, telling us how awesome the national police state is. So that's cool. I know we want to jump into sports, but I did want to bring up 2 little pop culture issues just to get Mike rolling. The first was I just want to talk about how awesome it is that the F-35 program continues to be the biggest dump of money that we have ever seen for the worst plane possible. I assume you guys saw that we had a pilot had to eject out of an F-35 and he just left the plane on autopilot. But the best part was that you did not.
I did see it. I did see that.
The best part was the DOD was like, "Hey everybody,
please
if anybody sees the plane, could you let us know?" And they're like, because the stealth technology is so good, we can't find it. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that the stealth technology is so good you can't find it with all your tech, all your panopticon cameras that Mike, you're so proud of. But apparently I could just look up in the sky and be like, there it is. And those things just flying around. I mean, I imagine that it's crashed by now.
My question is, why did he bail out if the thing can fly?
Because he's a fucking pussy.
Like, apparently there was no issue. Did he accidentally hit that?
Do you know anything about the F-35?
I have no. I have. I mean, I even saw pictures of it, and I didn't even recognize it really from anything I've seen.
This has been maybe just the biggest debacle.
You think you told me about this? The big waste of money or something?
Yeah, I mean, it basically explodes if it gets caught in the rain. I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly, but no, the rain like really screws it up. They had and this thing is so far over, but we have spent over $1 trillion on this F-35 program, and it has yielded like 0 workable planes. They sent them up there. They're just like, they're trying to milk anything they can, but we keep ordering them because Lockheed runs the government. So we keep ordering them. And I love that people, it's like, hey, should we send these F-35 somewhere else? It's like, yeah, we should absolutely send them to Saudi Arabia. Let them have them. These are awful aircraft that, it's like, let them see if they can figure out windshield wipers. That's great. Let them do it. Because they're just a complete nightmare. They've had all kinds of mishaps. Planes that have like just not taken off properly and immediately take off and nosedive right back to the ground. And again, each one of these things is like I can't even remember what the number is. It's 80 million. It's like
80 million, each. Right?
Yeah, something like 80 million each. So
what are the odds that this was a malfunction and it just shot this guy right out of the plane and he didn't even know it was going to happen?
No, he said, look here, these planes are notoriously problematic. The cockpits have fused on pilots. They've not escaped. Pilots have died. We've had a number of pilots die in these planes for a variety of reasons. They've caught on fire. Cockpits fused and hasn't let them escape.
Oh my God.
Everything has just failed. And they, like I said, literally they've hit the rain and then it's brought them down and they were unable to eject. All sorts of things over the years. So I imagine that this pilot is like, knows exactly what aircraft he's in. And just the first second something goes, even like the first time a red light blinks in that cockpit, you're like, I am out of here. Like, I know how bad this plane is. That would be my guess, is that he's like, I'm out. And then the plane just kept on like soaring, at stealthily. It is my favorite story of the week. Anyway, so I wanted to say something about that because I just think it's great because it's like,
it's lucky the damn thing didn't go over to a city.
Yeah, I mean, it's
it went 75 miles.
I like that. It's just every time I see a story about the F-35, I'm like, but healthcare would be too expensive. Anyway, but we can have this plane that can't fly in the rain. But they shelved like the A-10 Warthog, the plane that every pilot who ever has ever flown it is like, this is the best plane we've ever had. It's cheap, it's easy to fly, it does a great job, it's great in combat. And they're like, no, we have to shelve it for this more expensive technologically advanced model that everyone hates that doesn't work. Cool. because Lockheed is like, hey, we really are tired of selling you this cheap plane. We want to get more tax money our way. That I wanted to, like, one other thing, just because, Mike, I know you're probably chomping at the bit to do so. Would you like to chime in and but defend Russell Brand before we get going? I'm sure you have some thoughts. I'm sure he's like your boy or something now.
I'm not a fan of his. I know nothing really about what's going on other than the little bit I've seen in the headlines about some woman escaping his house or something like that. I have listened to his podcast a few times lately. Interesting. I liked it. I thought that it was pretty.
You liked the podcast or the allegations?
The podcast. Why would I like the allegations?
I don't know, man. You're the one with a themed segment on this show, so I don't know. Why you would like
it. No, I'm just normal. You just my normal is no longer normal in today's world.
That's how time works.
That's not normal. That's
how time works, man. That's how time works.
No, I disagree there. But I don't know anything about that guy. I just liked his podcast. I thought his podcast was pretty good.
Sure.
The only thing I don't like is I don't like this stuff coming up decades later. Like, and I do realize.
Didn't this just happen? Did this just happen?
No, it was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's like the accusation just happened, but I
mean, it's been the result of 4 years of investigation, though.
Oh,
understood. But still, you're looking at now 6 to 8 years of like, and I'm not trying to shame anybody who went through anything like that, but at the same time, it's like, wow, that's a long time. You know
what
are
the allegations again? What are they?
There are several, but the most damning ones are this one woman who came over to his place, and she, when she arrived, he like greeted her at the door naked and was like, "Hey, I've got some friends back here that want you to join." She's like, "I am not interested," and he shut the door behind her and sort of pushed her up against the wall. And she was like, "Stop, stop, stop!" Kept telling him to stop, and then he forced his way into her, and then she was like, convinced him that she had to go to the bathroom to finally get him to like, he finished, and then she's like, I have to go to the bathroom, and so he moved, so she bolted out the door. And then here's the part where it gets really damning, Mike. She has text messages from him. He texted her, tried calling her repeatedly at like 3:15, 3:30, 3:50. She didn't answer. She
so what do the text messages say?
Oh, I'll get to that. He texted her saying, I'm so sorry. I lost my head for a minute. I hope I can find a way to make this up to you. She talked to him, texted the next morning, was like, she's like, you scared the shit out of me. I always believed that I could defend myself. And, and you've completely shattered that illusion. I thought I could defend myself, and you've crushed me. And now I'm like, what the fuck? Do I need to get tested?
What did she say?
She said, do I need to get tested? He said, no, I don't need to get tested.
I'm actually going to take a step back, because I'm just thinking about the chronology around when the Me Too movement really took hold. And it was around 2019, right? Or 18, somewhere in that time frame. Like, that's 4 years ago. Yeah. And so that probably is the thing that made her feel like he's celebrity, but that doesn't make it okay. And now I can't actually speak out.
Right.
And so we're going to back off of what I said initially, because it makes sense now.
She also told a friend who came and picked her up the next day and took her to a rape crisis center where she was checked out. She went through counseling for months and months and months. And again, his text saying, do I need to get tested now? And him saying, no, you don't. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll try and make it up to you. Like, I just lost control. And she said, you had that glazed look in your eye, and when you get that, you're terrifying, and like, you can't be stopped. And he was, oh, I'm sorry. So that's all pretty freaking damning. Yeah. And the fact that she went and immediately saw it, and she said she thought about pressing charges. She thought about trying to do something civil or whatever, but she just didn't want to relive it. She didn't want to go through it. And here's the thing. It's almost impossible to prove rape. Rape is a hard thing to prove, because you might have physical evidence in the form of tearing or whatever else, but you may not. I mean, you can't help if your body is lubricated or not. You can't help. You can't help if he lubricates or not.
You go back to the whole Mike Tyson situation. Like, I just don't believe that was rape. But there, no matter, no one was there, right? Like, it's almost, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I mean, you could look at some of the kind of like evidence or whatever, not evidence, but like circumstantial evidence, right? Like a bunch of stuff leading up, but at the end of the day, it's like it's hard to tell what happened with somebody when it's only the two of them in there. It's kind of tough, especially if they've known each other, or if it's not like someone attacked them, and like crept up from behind and like that kind of thing, because then that would leave a lot of
but that's not how rape happens. I mean, yeah, of course, sometimes, but like it's something like 98% of the time is somebody you know.
Well, a lot of it's also,
I mean, it's overwhelmingly somebody you know.
It's like date rape too, where they use like something to like put in their drink or something, and it kind of disables them. So that way there's no arguing, no fighting. I mean, look at all the football players and stuff, and Bill Cosby, and now the guy from the 70s show, and like these guys, it's like weird. I don't know what it is, but I don't know why these guys, especially famous men, are feeling the need to put like roofies in these drinks.
Because rape is not about sex; it is about power.
Is that? I mean, I know nothing.
Rape is not about sex. Rape is about power.
Absolutely, that's the problem.
Because nobody needs to get laid that bad.
So, let me ask you.
You can solve this problem yourself. This is not you can resolve these issues on your own.
So,
it's about power.
With this, is this the only woman?
Or no, there's like four or six. But I will say this. I want to just say this. The biggest thing that surprised me about this was I was shocked that Russell Brand was not already labeled a sex pest. Like, I thought for sure this guy had already I was like, wait, he's never, I just assumed, everything about him screams sex pest. So I just assumed that he had already faced accusations and somehow weathered them or whatever else. I was really quite stunned that.
I wonder what Katy Perry thinks.
I mean, were they married?
Yeah, they were married.
Hey, so here's the scary thing. This is what I kind of get. I think it's sometimes blurred. In this case, there's obviously an actual accusation of rape, right? But in a lot of the things I've seen,
and accusations may be the wrong word. I mean, this was a journalist, and look here. To be honest with you, I know there's a lot of legacy media gets a lot of grief, but the reality is, legacy media are the only media that do any investigative work. They're the only ones that have the resources to do investigations. I mean, you might have independent journalists who will investigate a thing, but only legacy media has the money to actually do a 4-year investigation, digging into tracking down every person involved. They're the only ones that can afford to do that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a really dedicated independent person otherwise, everything, I mean, all of your Daily Mail, your Daily Caller, your Daily Wire, others, they're just reading the work of other people and responding to it.
Right.
They're not doing any real investigation of any kind.
No, I get that. But he wasn't convicted of anything, right? So it's an accusation still.
No, there's no charges being brought. I mean, nobody's charging him with things.
Why? Is there a time limit, or is there a time? Can he still be brought?
I mean, honestly, bringing charges is not always the be all end all.
So this is just a civil. This is a civil.
It's not. There's nothing. It's just this should be known. That's all.
Just an act. She went out and made this.
I don't know what the other women are doing, but I know this one. She thought about pressing charges and all that, and decided against it because it's a traumatizing experience to go through that. And police suck at it. They don't do anything. They're really shitty. So what's the point? I mean, I get that. Pressing charges is kind of stupid and pointless for a lot of people. It's well, police solve 6% of cases of sexual assault cases.
Are we back to statistics on police?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. No, I'm not. I'm just saying. They don't do a good job with it.
Well,
thanks, Mr. Pop Culture. We're only now 25 minutes longer into non-sports
Sorry.
talk.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to bring up a little topical stuff. I also wanted to say, hey, Mike, I think you should shoot Garrick's congresswoman a message as well, because I believe if you tell Lauren Boebert, hey, you need a little finesse with that caress, and I'm your guy. I think you guys have a lot in common. I think you'd do a much better job, and maybe you could be on the receiving end of that dry handy instead of that guy.
Ooh, I'd love it. Love it.
Sorry, I've never seen a man grab a breath so unceremoniously in my life. It's unreal. Anyway, but that's her business. I think it's kind of awful that that's all very public. It's just because she's such a hypocrite that it's too delicious to not bring up. Okay. So, gentlemen, with that all said, with Lauren Boebert's breasts akimbo, let's talk football.
Good luck with that segment.
I don't know how to go from there. I did find it quite delicious. So I wish this was a little bit more politics, because I want to say, there's that Democratic candidate in is she in Virginia? I think she's in Virginia. What's her name? Susanna. God, what is her name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
Susanna Gibson. Yeah. Susanna Gibson, really quick, is running for running in Virginia for the state house legislative position.
Hello, lady.
And she is she's a Democrat. And so somebody has leaked her Chatterbait video, which I have to say I was shocked I didn't know Chatterbait was still around. So that's something. But I guess she and her husband did a little fundraising on Chatterbait and whatever. And I'm like,
so
first
what?
off, huh?
So
that's
what
I say. I say so what? But it's being used as a, do we want this immoral pervert? And I'm like, she's at least screwing her husband. And you know what I mean? Like, so you get a little voyeuristic for people who want to pay a little money. Who cares?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Keep it in front of adults. That's all.
She is a nice looking lady.
I think she's attractive.
She's a nice looking lady, for what it's
There's
worth.
A couple attractive ladies out there in politics nowadays that I'm getting into.
Here we go.
Well,
Mike's
I would say
misogyny rundown. Here it comes.
Like, I was going to say, well, no, I will say this. I will say, Lauren Boebert is a congressional 8. She's a real life 6. Not to get into all this, but because Congress is what it is, some people's attractiveness spikes way up because they're in Congress. Not because of the power, but because it's like, if you look around and you're like, well, Dianne Feinstein is like the mean. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden Chuck Grassley seems like maybe a little ruggedly handsome at 90 years old. Maybe Chuck Schumer isn't quite so bad looking when you're looking at, comparing him to who's around. It's like Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler. Yeah, Schumer's a handsome man by comparison.
I like Tulsi. I think Tulsi's kind of hot. I think Tulsi's a looker for sure.
She's psychotic, but yeah.
They all are.
Anyway, all right, football.
You sure you don't have something else you want to talk about first? I mean,
I don't know. Do you want to do a whole thing on Hindu nationalism?
Hey, listen.
No,
you know what he's doing.
Text so
He wants so bad to have this political show. He's disguising their football show and he's hijacking it. And he's using it as a stage for his politics here.
Except I'm going to.
You have not heard any of my politics. I've just talked about cultural stuff. Just culture stuff.
No, we know about your politics, Brian.
Yeah, but I'm not talking politics at all. Not even a little. I'm just talking cultural stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe
there was
no slant in the way you tell any of those stories.
No,
I mean,
the listeners will never know.
What was the slant?
Your bias is so strong you don't even see it.
I mean, I'm telling you how police are bad at their job. That's not slant. That's just facts. I mean, I don't know where the slant is.
Police are bad.
It would be obvious if you weren't blind to it.
I mean, I said Lauren Boebert's attractive. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, I did think her date mauled her, as opposed to, I said, you need a little finesse in that caress. There was none of that.
And then you use your lefty approach of yelling at me with no facts, and then you go and say police are bad at their job.
Well, yeah, using the facts that they have terrible clearance rates. They have low clearance rates. They're
detective.
Bad.
That's a detective.
No, all crimes. They have low clearance rates for all crimes. They're bad at their job.
No,
like they're bad at their job. Look up the data. Look up the FBI.
They're good at protecting the football players. You see,
by the way, I threw the hook out there, and you bit again. So let's move forward.
Okay. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not doing slanted stuff here. I'm just
that hook's in there deep, Mike.
I mean, I'm offended. I'm offended by the idea that facts are somehow slanted. That the data is slanted. Okay.
Nothing you said at any point was slanted. Just the facts make it all and true.
The only thing slanted was Lauren Boebert State's crotch. Ayo. All right. Sorry.
Did you do the research, or is that an opinion?
I mean, I've seen the video.
We watched different things.
I saw the video. And I was going to say, like, you were going to talk about the surveillance stuff. And I was like, why do they have all these cameras in this theater? That seems kind of crazy to me. I think that's terrible.
I'll be honest with you. I'd bang Cortez too. Even though I'd have to put duct tape over her mouth. I'd bang her good.
Oh, good God. Okay.
I literally caught 2 fish with 1 hook. This is fun.
This is God, just the hey. Okay. All right. Some of us still believe in good old fashioned consent. Okay. So NFL week 2 is in the books, gentlemen. Our picks turned out to be right down the middle, pretty mediocre again, but that's okay. Garrick, little win this week by a game.
I'll take the victory.
Take the victory. But let's talk. What did we learn? Did we learn anything from week 2 other than running backs were 100% correct in trying to get guaranteed contracts because they are used and abused and like they're the most precarious guys on the field?
So because they run for 2 games, they deserve to get paid more, or are they being paid reciprocal to what it is that they actually are playing?
Well, I would say that the problem is the argument that they've been making is, hey, look, we put our body on the line like so much, like because of the nature of our position, that we have short careers. Our whole career could be over like that. And to work out that, like, to be working on a rookie contract. I mean, obviously some of these guys make more than others, but like, it is, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's the precarity of the position is being, is on display.
So has the running back pay gone down, or
no.
Yes,
has it not kept up with like other?
That's more the better way to make the argument is that it has not kept up with everything else
with
around it.
Yes, with other skill positions.
And it is low. If you go look at truly look at the numbers, like I did it last week when we were doing this, because I was stunned by it, to be quite honest, because to me, I'm like, the guys who should be paid the most are offensive and defensive linemen, the guys that are in on every play and really probably taking the most abuse. And without them, no running back gets a hole. Most quarterbacks can't throw a pass, and that makes the receiver invalid too. So based on value, I was thinking that, and I'm like, they're paid less than those guys. Like they're not even, receivers are blowing out the market now, and quarterbacks have been doing it for a while. But yeah, no, running backs are down in the average of $6 to $7 million a year, where your best at the top end.
Yeah,
there might be a guy up a little higher, like McCaffrey,
yeah. I mean, I think like
but on
like
average,
Raheem Mostert's making like 1.5, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more out of balance than I thought it was.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, yeah, it's really easy. I mean, I get it that it's like it's a bummer if you've signed Saquon to $22 million or something, and he's going to miss 3 weeks for an ankle or 4 weeks or whatever for an ankle, or Nick Chubb, who is in the last year of his rookie he signed that extension back in 21, but I think he's in negotiations this year or next year, and you go, okay, like. There has not been there's only been one more productive running back than Nick Chubb over the last 5 years, and that's Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, well, shouldn't he be, I mean, like looking at his production, shouldn't he be getting paid like a guy who gets 1,500 yards a year?
What's going to happen is it's going to really depend on what happens now, because if it's more of a plug and play situation, where if the backup steps in and the backup starts lighting it up, he's a no name. And that's going to they're going to start thinking like, hey man, anyone, it's the system. It's not
what they're thinking is they can draft a guy. They can draft a guy, get him on a 5-year rookie contract, and in the NFL, where a running back's lifespan is, averages 3 years. This is like the owners have decided like they can get him on that cheap rookie contract, especially if they're drafted out of the first round. So if you can get a guy, even first pick of the second round or whatever, you can get him in a contract where, he's making a couple $100,000 most years till the last year where he makes, maybe 2 or something in the 5th year option or 3, and then dump him. And these guys are starting to sort of recognize this. They're like, hey, wait, we're on these rookie contracts and we're getting battered. Because they come out of college, they're hungry, they want to get a spot on the team, they want to make the squad, whatever, but they're doing their most productive work for the least amount of pay. And then no one wants to pay them as they age, especially that position. And offensive, defensive linemen seem like the guys that do have the most damage. But I think, the biggest difference between them, money too. Well, yeah, they're paid well, but the biggest difference between them and say a running back is, they are, yes, in collisions with one another every down from a few inches away. Whereas the running back is constantly being hit while he is at a full head of steam, or somebody is at a full head of steam hitting him at a full head of steam. And so the violence of those collisions is worse than wide receivers as well. But again, wide receivers are, generally speaking, again, this is of course not universal, of course, generally being tackled by cornerbacks. They're roughly the same size players.
Different kind of tackle too, for sure.
That's been really debated by doctors. Doctors would tell you that the offensive linemen and defensive linemen go through the most head trauma during the game.
They do. That's why they've done that whole, they've changed the helmets and all that to try and mitigate that. Sure, that those repeated small collisions are worse for your brain. But as a general rule, brain injuries are not the thing that running backs are suffering from that are knocking them out. Yes, occasionally concussions, but the thing that's taking them out are
leg injuries and
knees and ankles and whatever else. And you blow your ACL, and we're so conditioned now to a guy blows his ACL, he has surgery and he comes back and he'll be fine in a year or whatever. And it's like, well, maybe, not every time. Like some of these guys never recover, and it's like Tommy John surgery in baseball. You're like, oh, well, a guy has Tommy John, he'll be fine in a year or 2 years. He'll be back good as new. And it's like, well, yeah, sometimes that works. But there are plenty of guys that are never able to quite recover. And also you now have a theoretically weakened part of your body that is going to go through the same sort of cuts, the same sort of, broadly speaking, unnatural movements, those like the cut and turn, and you talk about Aaron Rodgers with the Achilles, and you go, well, should we outlaw AstroTurf? Is that caused by AstroTurf, that injury? Is that a result of, a rug on top of concrete? Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's a bad system. So, I guess my point is just that, when it comes to these battles where it's like, do I side with owners or do I side with labor? I always side with labor. Labor is always the right answer. The answer is never the ownership. When owners are like, well, we can't afford to pay these guys. I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit. You could pay these guys. You could choose to make slightly less profit, as the billionaires that you are, and you'd still be freaking billionaires. And so don't tell me you can't pay a little bit more. You write the rules. You could just as easily create a scenario whereby you have a salary cap, which by and large, I think the salary cap has been good for the league. It's been great for the owners. The salary cap has been the best thing for the owners. So, but it has been good for the game. It's created parity, which, I remember, the salary cap argument was always like, well, are we going to have parity or are we going to have mediocrity? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to have? And there was a little time there where it seemed like maybe we were going to have mediocrity, but we have parity. You know, we finally have something closer like to parity. And the way one GM runs a team versus another, one owner over another, you can really see how those decision makers actually do make a big difference for a franchise. You know what I mean? Like, you can see that. And the salary cap kind of allows that because, you know, in a world where the New York football market generates X amount of income that allows them to spend more on players than Arizona's market, which allows them to spend, or Jacksonville's market. You know, you would have it would be, I mean, in baseball, it can be done. I mean, the Orioles are winning a ton of games spending no money.
Not common.
No, I know, but I mean, like, it would be possible, but it would be much more the exception than the rule. So the salary cap's been, I think the salary cap's been good, but the owners could very easily put together a system where you're like, okay, here's the salary cap. And also, like I said, I mentioned once before, I think you could do some sort of profit sharing from fantasy that could go to guys that get drafted. You know, there's only 4 positions that get drafted for fantasy, right? I mean, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back.
Where's the league making money on fantasy?
Do you honestly think that, like, all those FanDuel dual ads and DraftKings ads and DraftKings sponsoring every sports podcast, every DraftKings sponsoring NFL Network?
Not talking about the advertising. I'm talking about just the option of fantasy, because there's leagues out there like Yahoo, ESPN, and all those. You can run them for free with no payment at all.
Sure, I understand all that, but I also know that the NFL is making a ton of money on promoting fantasy products, and
just like they are beer and automobiles and everything else that advertises.
Right, I understand, but when it comes to fantasy, you're drafting specific players, right? You're doing that, and the NFL is promoting that, and the NFL is getting paid to promote that. They're generating revenue from those things. You could do a thing where you took some portion of those profits and you use them as even as a compensatory pool to help pay, to equalize salaries. You could do there. I'm just saying this. I'm not saying this is the solution. I'm saying there are creative ways that you could figure out. Hey, look, I don't want to roll the dice on $20 million on a running back, given the precarity of the position. But there are ways that you could negotiate things into their contract that say, hey, for guys that get drafted in fantasy, who end up on X% of fantasy teams, by the end of the season, they get some sort of bonus that is derived from the money, the revenue that is generated from those leagues. You could do things in order to kind of like mitigate some of the precarity of the position, but you could also do things like, hey, we have a salary cap, but we also have a $20 million exemption for injuries. You can put a guy on the exemption, on that $20 million exemption list, which frees up capital to go sign free agents that doesn't hurt your salary cap, so that you can so you can feel more comfortable paying a guy more money, because, hey, look, we're not going to take the hit and then not be able to replace them with somebody, a free agent or whatever else. We can move them to the the sunk cost, bracket of
just moving money around at that point, though.
Well, yeah, you're changing the salary cap. You're saying, hey, there's a $20 million or $30 million, additional salary cap that teams can utilize, in order to incentivize raising salaries, because you reduce the risk of doing so. So you can put a guy over here in this column, and so they get paid out of this other fund, and it doesn't hurt your salary cap. So you can go out and sign somebody, because, I mean, ultimately, I think that would even be good for the league, because you go, okay, well, if you have to put a guy like Nick Chubb on the shelf, I mean, the Browns are a bad example because they have a lot of salary cap space, but but just assume that they didn't, you can put a guy like Nick Chubb on the shelf, and you could incentivize maybe trading for a Jonathan Taylor, because it would be worth the money to go pay for him.
Until Chubb comes back.
No, but Chubb's done for the season, so you could put him in this, so so that it doesn't hit your salary cap. So you had, assuming you see what I'm saying?
You're not going to go grab a guy like Jonathan Taylor for just this season. You're going to want to lock him up. So next year you run into the situation of having both of them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess my point is just, there are creative ways that you might be able to deal with this situation.
Sure.
I mean, I think from the players' perspective, they should be thinking about doing positional union groups as opposed to, they should think about maybe splitting the union into positional groups and allowing each positional group.
You can barely get them to agree now. Like,
well, that's because that union's terrible. But yeah, I mean,
if you had a running back today, size a 5-year deal, $10 million a year, just for easy math, right? First year he's into that, he gets injured. He's going to get however much was guaranteed, and then he's going to get cut and never play if he never plays again. So technically, for the 1 year, let's say the guarantee's 5 on top, or 15 total. So for 1 year, he gets paid 15. That's more than a lot of positions. And if you look at it purely from the dollars and cents standpoint, not the contract standpoint, the yearly average is higher if it's negotiated properly. Then some other positions that are come in at a lower wage. I'm just saying they're paying for what they get. I hate to say it that way. It sounds really callous, but if you're only going to play for 2 years, we're going to make sure that the dollar equals the value that we're getting for those 2 years.
I think you could end up with a situation where guys are like, why should I, like, sure, I'll take this contract, but I'm not going to kill myself for this money. Because that's literally what you're asking guys to do. Like, these guys have shorter life. NFL players have shorter lifespans. They have less earning potential after the NFL for a lot of them because, they are in bad physical shape for a large portion of them. So, they are literally, selling their body and in a very real sense for a very short period of time.
Now, let me ask you this. Don't they get lifetime health care as well after being in the league for 3 years, something like that? Is that what the union gives them, lifetime health care and a pension?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the pension deal is, but that's all pretty new too. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think
I don't know I don't know about the pension part. I'm not sure what that's
like. I mean, the guys that obviously take a beating, they're high paid running backs. I mean, if you're a backup or you're just sitting, unless you're in a committee where you're splitting time, I don't know. I mean, I would just imagine if you're making fucking 15, 20 million, I would imagine these guys, like, I get it. The career is not as long. And maybe if they're comparing themselves to other positions, it's not ideal, but I mean, I don't know.
I definitely think the pay needs to be fixed, right? Like, they do deserve more than what they're getting.
I can see them changing the deal and saying, look, your running back contracts are guaranteed for X amount of years, even if they get hurt.
We don't even have guarantees now. Like, that's the solution to most of these problems, honestly, is to go back to fully guaranteed contracts and then negotiate accordingly. Like, both sides, meaning so I think that way you land on a number that everybody knows what that number looks like.
Yeah, I think the union should make a rule on running back, the position itself, and just say running back positions are going to be treated differently from other positions. Their contracts are going to be guaranteed for 3 years, I'd say minimum or whatever.
Sorry, so I just wanted to look at this real quick. So NFL players must be at least 55 to receive their full pension. You get vested after 3 full seasons. So 3 full seasons, and then on average, which means that that a lot are lower than this. The longer you're in the league, the more your pension, whatever. But on average, the pension is $43,000 a year.
Okay. Yeah, and just to give you a contrast of like a superstar, because I know it was pretty shocking when OJ was going through his trial, even though he played so long ago, he makes like $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, like you said, the NFL is, look, it's
the pension isn't based on performance as much as I think time. Yeah.
And is salary something to do with it too?
I'm sure it has something.
Like if you're one of the higher paid guys, you're probably going to get a much bigger pension than,
And then Hall of Fame players receive an additional pension.
Maybe that's why OJ was getting so much a month, because he's a Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to look into that, but let's see. So the other benefits are you get a joint replacement program for former players. So that should tell you something.
Sure.
You get life insurance under the age of 55. They give you a discount card for prescription drugs. They give you a Medicare supplement program once you're 65. And then they give you a neurological program that covers neurological work. And then you have access to assisted living facilities. Now, whenever I see the word access, I get really suspicious.
They let you use the
like,
toilet.
Because I'm like, what does access mean? Like, hey, there's an assisted living facility. It costs more than you can afford. But like, you could access it. So I don't know what that means. They also have a spine treatment program that covers all spinal injury expenses.
Oh, nice.
So and that's the list of that's what they get. That's their, according to the NFL alumni page, that is what they have as their former player life improvement plan. That's what they get.
It's not terrible.
It certainly tells you something about like what their bodies are going through.
Oh, no question.
But it's like, okay, we'll take care of neurological, joint replacement, and spinal work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in like mini car accidents every play, just about, it's amazing.
But the thing is, all the money the NFL makes, it's not made by the owners. It's made by the players. They generate all that revenue. They convert the raw material that is their bodies into the finished product that you see on Sundays. They are the ones who convert they're the ones that are generating all the revenue. They generate everything. Excuse me. And so, to me, I'm just like, they should get a bigger slice of the pie. They should always be getting a bigger slice of the pie.
They're the fuel, not the engine.
I once heard a running back, I want to say it might have been Curtis Enos, but I probably have that wrong, who said, you go to a restaurant, he said, and, you sit down, you order a steak, and like, he's like, you can have a steak at home, steak is like it's the whatever, but he's like, you go to a restaurant and like somebody cooks that steak. They're the one that takes a raw slab of meat and converts it into something that's worth $6 that was worth $6 that's now worth $20 or what, $25 or whatever. But because they apply their labor, their skill and their labor to turn that slab of meat into something, that's worth more money. He's like, and then they serve it to you. He's like, but football players are the chef and the steak. And I was like, I like that metaphor because it's true. Like, they are both things. They are the skill that turns the raw talent into something, but they're also the raw material. They're both things. They're both the skilled labor and the raw talent.
I would argue that it is the coaching staff that is the chef.
The coaching,
I was going to say maybe the manager, but
coaching staff might be the chef, but they're they're the cook. Gordon Ramsay gets all the credit, but the guy that's cooking them all the steaks is the one who's actually doing the labor.
You're very right, but very replaceable. So it's like, they are the chef, they're the cook, they're labor. But if they don't like it, bye. We'll get another chef cook, and they'll come right back behind you. There's millions of them lined up that want a shot at that. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So listen, I agree with you. I think the players definitely, without them, there's nothing. But they're not everything,
Well, that's why right now we're talking about who Eckler, Chubb, Henry, like the big. we know the big guys, right? But 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, it was Marshall Faulk and Emmitt Smith and
Edgerrin James,
Terrell Davis.
It was every running back from Miami, Frank Gore.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't make them less valuable, but
Clinton Portis.
For about every position, though.
And listen, I bet you and they're all living decent lives, except for maybe Clinton Portis. He's in some financial trouble, but I think most of them are doing okay.
I think if you see the surveys, it's not, most former NFL players are not doing great. They're fine. They might be okay, but they're not like it's not like you might expect.
Well, I would say this: most of them are working some job. To be honest with you,
sure.
Very few that we even know their names. Most NFL
sure.
players we never heard of, and they're just out, in the workforce.
The thing I would say is this, though. The problem, on some level, is that the way that the market kind of functions, and that is this. 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, even a little bit more than that, running backs suddenly became the biggest position in sports that was in football that wasn't maybe quarterback.
Yeah.
They become the most prominent. Yep. And so what happens when running backs become the most prominent figures on the football field is that the kids at Pop Warner, the kids in high school, the kids, they get funneled into that position because that's where the demand is. Right? Those are the stars. That's the position everybody wants. So you funnel more kids with athletic ability that could go any number of positions. I mean, there's not a running back in football that couldn't have been a linebacker or a safety if they had been sort of given, at an early age, been trained a little bit different way.
Most of them do that. Most of them do that. Like Ray Lewis was a running back. Like most people don't end up in the position they start at. It's like physical.
They do in high school and then college. They get funneled into those positions, and that's what I'm saying though. That a lot of these guys get funneled. A lot of guys got funneled into the running back position because college basically serves as a minor league for the NFL. Functionally, they serve as a minor league for the NFL, and so those coaches know there's pressure there. That it's good for them to get guys into the NFL, so they funnel guys. To the running back position who, well, obviously you have to have a skill set or whatever else, but they funnel guys into those positions. And so what happens is then you have a labor glut at the running back position, right? You have a constant stream of high quality running backs coming out of college. And that's part of what's driving down the price of running backs is that there is a feeling that they can all be replaced. But for the kids coming out of college or whatever, it's not their fault that they're not a linebacker. They may have been a linebacker in high school, but they got shuffled into this position because they had a coach along the way that was like, hey, this is your best chance to go to college. This is your best chance to, to get a free ride. This is your best chance to go to the next level or whatever. So they, they've been coached into those positions along the way through whether they wanted to necessarily be that position or not. This is kind of how it works. And now, so right now, wide receivers are sort of, the position. So I imagine you've got a lot of fast guys who, may have been high school running backs that are now being funneled to the wide receiver position. You probably got a lot of guys, who are going to go to college who might, obviously wide receiver body and running back body are not obviously identical, but you're going to see guys funneled into positions that make more sense for them financially in the future. It's the same with offensive and defensive linemen. I think, it's like for a while there, left tackle was the one offensive line position where you got paid a lot. Guards and centers were not generally paid a ton of money. And so you kind of saw the same thing. You saw kind of a bit of a glut of left tackles and a glut of tackles coming out. And I know you look at a lot of those guys and you're like, well, they probably could be a defensive tackle just as easily, but there wasn't as much money. And some of the guys who were like, well, I was an offensive tackle, but now I'm a defensive end. You know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing.
They weren't funneling him there because they said, hey, you can make more money. They were funneling him there because it was a demand for a left tackle.
Right.
But they needed that position. So anytime they had a superior athlete, they were like, hey, listen, we need you at this position because it's the
understand
demand.
But I also understand that that we don't live in a vacuum. So there are guys in college or who are in high school now about to make decisions on college who are running backs who are like, no, that is not for me. I've got to transition to a different position when I go to college because I see what's going on with running backs. I see how they're being churned, they're being ground to dust, and then thrown away before they get a second contract, or how few of them actually do get that second contract or whatever.
Yep.
And so you're right now you're going to start seeing guys that were going to be running backs going into college who are now shifting gears and saying, I think I'd like to try my hand at inside linebacker, or I'd like to try my hand somewhere else. You're going to start to see that transition because there are guys that are going to make those decisions. There are guys in high school who are 100% expect themselves to go to the NFL. I mean, like legitimately believe that's their path, and are correct about that. And some of those guys are going to go. I mean, I understand that's the way the market forces are working, but in the long run, I guess my point is I don't know that it's necessarily good for the game that that's the case. That there should be a way to take care of people, to take care of these guys in a way that is more equitable. That's all I'm saying. Wow. So anyway, with all that said,
we haven't even talked about last week yet.
Yeah, well, we have though. We've been talking about the injuries and all that. And that's why this is all coming up.
No, you're not wrong. Question for you on the injury for you two, though.
Yeah.
Do you think the hit by Minkah Fitzpatrick was dirty?
I didn't see it, actually.
I mean, I'm going to just say that I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm not sure that it matters.
I think it does.
Well, I don't think I can say I don't think he was trying to injure him.
That's one of the things that have been out there today is because he led with his helmet into the knee. But I'm like, yeah, but Nick Chubb would run over Minkah Fitzpatrick if they hit a head-on collision. So that's what all safeties and DBs do, right? They hit them lower because you can't tackle them high. They get just steamrolled.
Yeah, I don't
didn't he kind of roll into his knees? Like, I don't.
No, he was diving towards like what would normally be like the lower part of the thigh.
Gotcha.
And then Chubb was getting wrapped up by one of the other linemen. In doing so, it caused Chubb to straighten his leg. And in doing so, it made the hit actually a bit lower. And you don't need to know what happened to the knee. He was just
I saw the picture. I saw the picture.
He won't be around this year. Hopefully he comes back from it. Yeah, hopefully he does come back. But
that's the same leg that he blew out in college, man. That's terrible.
I think I guess my thought is just in general is that I largely agree with throwing flags on a lot of these plays like that, but I don't generally think people are trying to do that. You're aiming at the thigh.
Vontaze Burfict was dirty. That I don't think Minkah Fitzpatrick is dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like Burfict, the way he hit Antonio Brown in that one game, like he was headhunting. Like there's no question, right? But I thought Fitzpatrick is just a shitty situation, and you'd know that players would be coming out saying stuff all over the place if any of them thought that he was that kind of player, or if it was at all dirty. I think it was just a shitty situation.
Yeah, and I really, really, I think the worst thing you could do is, and I hate that they've done this, is to give the refs and the officials any authority whatsoever, even to throw these flags. It should all be handled post-game, like when you can review the tape, you can fine and suspend guys, because what happens is I see just a ton of clean hits that are hard hits that when you look at them in instant replay, you're like, oh, he clearly led with his shoulder. He clearly didn't. It was no helmet to helmet. But when it's live, these refs are given a split second like that, and these guys are running so fast.
They do review it, though. They do. If they're going to throw somebody out of the game, they absolutely review it.
Yeah, but they don't pick up flags on a review. They throw the flags instantaneously.
I mean, because, on the net, you figure the flags balance out in the end. The occasional bad call balances out over the course of a season.
But why even put it in their hands? It's impossible.
Well, do you want it to be? I mean, the human element to refereeing is is a vital element to the game. I mean,
I'll just clarify, like a personal foul and being ejected from the game aren't the same thing. So it is possible to get a 15-yard penalty and it be a legit personal foul, but that doesn't mean you were trying to harm the other guy. No. And that is what they're being booted for.
Well, I hate the booting. I think that's terrible. And then
somebody's trying to take somebody else out. Like that's worse.
I'm not against like personal fouls at all.
Because you're a class traitor at that point. Sorry. Go ahead.
Because then there's hitting, you shut up. There's hitting out of bounds. You could hit the quarterback way late. You could do all that stuff. I get that. But when a lot of these plays are like a receiver crossing over the middle, running with the ball. There's a whole ton of what they always call is helmet to helmet, and a lot of them aren't. They're just really hard hits. They're really like heavy collisions.
I mean,
calling a lot of them helmet to helmet.
Hey, look, you were taught every year how to tackle properly. These professionals are taught every year how to tackle properly. The rules change a little. You got to learn how to tackle properly. You're supposed to be a professional. You're supposed to learn how to follow the new rules as they are, whatever they are. If the old rule was you could take a guy's head off if you're, Jack Ham or Jack Lambert or Burt Jones or whatever, not Burt Jones. What was his Bubba Smith? You could take a guy's head off. But then they're like, okay, no, you gotta hit a guy in the chest or below from the pads to the shoulders. That's about as far as you can go.
Sure.
I mean, like
and when you do that, and it's all of a sudden the defenseless receiver, and you're like, well,
they're not.
How do I not? What do you do? Let him run? Let him run free?
I mean, no, but
it's a terrible call.
There's a way.
It only happens on the really hard hits too.
There's a way to take a receiver out of because there's a way to take a receiver who is defenseless out of a play without walloping trying to knock their head off. And you can do that.
And these are, I'm not talking about head-to-head collisions. I mean, clean tackles, where a catch was made, secured, but just a hard hit with the shoulder. I'm saying that's what you see it a lot there.
I mean, I'm sorry. I do tend
to see a lot of trends. So here's what I've noticed in the beginning of the season. Goodell will go, all right, we're trying to cut back on XYZ. A couple years ago, it was the hits on quarterbacks, and then all of a sudden, everyone was complaining they put dresses on quarterbacks, this and that. So Goodell will come out and he'll say, all right, this year, we're going to refs really focus now on, because of these lawsuits, really focus on the helmet to helmet. So what you'll see is flag-happy officials, where it's almost like they're going, guys, you only threw 4 this game. We need at least 6 or 7 a game.
I mean, I don't see that.
I've seen that. You see a trend. You see every time there's a big thing, and then everyone's making a big deal out of it. Concussion. All of a sudden,
I mean, I think there is a focus, because it's like, okay, they're going through training sessions and they're like, all right, these are the rules. These are the things to be looking out for. So yeah, it is in their head. And I don't think it's like, I mean, I don't think
it's not like cops at the end of the month giving out tickets so they make quota.
Right. And look,
they give them raises. The more you throw, the more money you get a bonus check.
I mean, and I'm sorry, but like, it's like, I know, Gary, I'm going to lose you on this, but like, it's like baseball. You know, there was talk. I remember at one point they were like, "Hey, what if we eliminated like behind the plate umps? We could just do like." We could just use like a computer to judge balls and strikes. I'm like,
let me jump.
That would be terrible.
That is not what the argument is.
It's what I'm saying.
That's what the baseball people can. I don't want to get on a sidetrack, but listen, let me just say this, because I think that's a beautiful thing, and everyone argues it because says what you just said. What they're saying is you're going to keep the umps. You're keeping everyone behind. You're just having a computer in their earpiece say ball strike. They still do the out. They still call the plays at home. It's just that you have
so you don't need any. So you could just put a blind dude back there. It doesn't matter. You could just put. It doesn't. You don't need a real person. You're just
exaggerating again.
No, I'm not. If something else is making the call for you, what is the point?
Because it's going to be consistent. You're not going to have bad calls. He's still going to do everything else because the home umpire has a lot of duties. He's still going to call the game.
What I like about about the human ump is, you know, some guys have a low
human.
Some guys have a low strike zone. Some guys have a high strike zone. Some guys don't see inside strikes. Some guys don't see outside strikes.
Set the computer that way.
But I think what's great about that is, everyone has to adjust to that umpire, and that's a good thing.
Set the computer that way.
That's just that. I mean, that's stupid.
It's consistency.
No,
it'll be consistent.
Most umps are consistent throughout the game.
I love that you say set the computer that way and get as close as you can with that stupid mask on.
Yeah,
like
But you're basically saying, like, can't we just have an AI that's really, really, really close to being a human being? Like, just keep the human being. Like, let's stop being so inhuman. My point is, with football, it's the same thing. Sometimes, yeah, sure. Some crews do tend to be like, they just came out of the training class. You know what I mean? So they see a lot of one thing that game. It's like what's the old joke? You could call holding on every single play, which is not true. Which is not true. But like, I get the implication.
I will say I do like the way that instant replay is being used by a lot of these sports. I'm super happy it's being brought in with baseball. Not that it's super necessary, I think, but I love it.
It's good.
And I love the way
the right balance in all the sports, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, for the, you limit it and you make it for, so you put the impetus on a coach or a manager to like use it in the most egregious of errors strategically. It adds a layer of strategy to the game.
Yeah, but not doing it on scoring plays and turnovers that are these hugely impactful moments. Like, no, we're going to leave it for these. It could be on a pass and whether or not it was a catch like 40 yards down the field. So that could be, but meaning it's not these clear plays where it's like, no, those should just be reviewed all the time. Like they figured that out.
Yeah. Review every score. Yeah, it's good. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I still like humanity. I know, Mike, you are trying to eliminate human beings from every aspect of life as much as possible. Your dream is that one day we'll have like robotic players, robotic umps, and everything will be a AI generated game or whatever. But like, I want to see the people do the things. So that's just me. I just want to keep seeing human beings doing it. All right, so let's talk some specific games.
Yeah, I would love to start with hearing you just really talk about how good your New York Giants are.
So I am going to talk about the Giants. I have to say, at halftime, I was like, man, I really need to reevaluate this. These guys, this is pretty bad. I'm going to say a few things. Number one, no. I think number one, look, that second half, Daniel Jones really say what I know is against the Cardinals. Whatever. I thought he looked great in the second half. He really took control, and he did. He looked really good to bring that team back. And I don't care how bad the Cardinals are. Coming back from down 20 is no small feat in the NFL. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yes.
And doing so on the road, all that stuff. Okay, so a lot of credit to the Giants. I think this is I think by the time it's all said and done, I think this is going to be a game that was a real what do they like a gut check or a heart check or whatever. And I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to get beat this week. But I do think
they follow it up with running into the 49ers and
I know it's terrible, but I think that whatever was going on with that offense. Well, first off, there's one thing I want to point out. I don't know if you noticed, but at halftime, when they came out from halftime, I got to look something up really quick because I can't remember his name. So hold on. I know his name and I can't think of it. Kafka. So I don't know if you noticed this, but when they came out at after halftime, Daboll was holding the play sheet at his mouth, and they haven't said anything about him calling the plays, but he had the sheet and he seemed to be the one like calling in the plays. Kafka has called the plays for the first 6 quarters of this season. So, and I think Kafka is still going to be fine. I mean, I do think that like offensive coordinators do usually take a little time to get into a rhythm with play calling, especially when it's kind of a new system, a new team, a new whatever. These things can take time. But Daboll appeared to take over play calling in the second half, and I think it made a big difference. So I do think the Giants are going to be fine. I'm disappointed in their defense. I thought their defense would be better, and I think the thing with the Giants was I always thought the Cowboys had a more talented team, but I think their offense is going to be mediocre. I think Mike McCarthy is a bad play caller. But I think I guess I underestimated just how absolutely dominant Micah Parsons is, and I think I underestimated how good that defense and I knew that defense was going to be good. I think I underestimated how good. Michael Parsons is freaking Lawrence Taylor, man. He's like the closest thing I've seen to Lawrence Taylor.
No question, he's a stud. But I'm reserving some judgment on the Cowboys yet. Like, I'm not impressed with the Giants. I have not been impressed with the Giants. We talked about this before the season started.
Yeah.
And then they followed that up with the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. Like, I'm not ready to crown these guys, the NFC champions just yet. Like a lot of people are out there doing. It's like, who have they played? Like, legitimately. And then who do they play? They play Arizona this week. So that's all we're going to hear about for the next week and a half as well. So it's just like, it's like, no, I want to see when they run into an actual quality team. Like when they play the Eagles, let's see what that really looks like.
Yeah, I mean, and the Eagles, the Eagles still seem to be finding their way at this point. Like they have not seemed to find an identity just yet. I mean, they beat the Vikings, but I
think
a
little bit of a hangover going or something.
Yeah, maybe. And I mean, again, a lot of this stuff takes time. Their defense doesn't quite look as good as I expected. Their offense certainly doesn't seem to have found a rhythm yet, but they've been good enough, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think, the Eagles Vikings, they are played out basically exactly how I expected it. I think, I think I said in the very beginning, Vikings are going to score a lot of points. Their defense is bad. They can't stop anybody. And I don't think they can score enough points to win whatever Mike said, 14 games or whatever. That's for sure. I think the Vikings I think they're again, there's too much talent on the offensive side of the ball, but to not be a force. But I just am not. Their defense, I think, is so bad that I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do. And like I said, I think the Eagles. I mean, we'll see when the Cowboys play the Eagles. The Cowboys defense looks great, but I think when they go up against a team like the Eagles that's going to punch them in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when you're going to see Mike McCarthy's play calling come into play. And he is a terrible play caller.
It'll be week 5.
Mike McCarthy, mark my words, Mike McCarthy's play calling will be exposed as this season goes on. That defense is going to keep them in every game. But McCarthy is a bad.
We'll find out how good their defense is in week 5 when they play San Francisco.
I think Mike might be frozen. Either that or he hasn't. Oh, there he goes. He hasn't.
He might as well be.
I know.
He's into La La Land. You can tell.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right.
So
you do know we're not doing your podcast, right? Like, so you're not just supposed to listen. You're actually supposed to chime in and actually comment.
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything to add to this conversation?
What were you guys? I just froze for a second. What were you guys talking about?
We're talking NFC East.
Yes. Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, Skins, who are 2-0.
Commanders.
Yeah, whatever. I don't think I'll ever get that right.
I'm not buying in on the Skins. Not bought in on them yet.
Can we just drop the red and have it be non-racist if we just say Skins? Because it could be shirts or skins. It could be any of that type of stuff. Like
they really should have gone Red Tails. If they went Red Tails, it would have been such an easy transition.
Red Tails or Hawks or something.
I was going to say something horrible, and I won't do that. So,
well, I mean, it just Red Tails would have been like it works. It's a cool name, and
about the scalpers. Would that be too much close to scalping tickets, scalping football?
Well, they might as well just call themselves the Dutch. Anyway,
wrong podcast.
Look at us, we're so weird.
What about the Red Feathers?
I mean, whatever. We're who cares?
That name's done.
We're not Josh Harris, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, let him deal with this all the fallout he's got to deal with.
You did touch on Minnesota though, so to kind of bridge last week and this week, it's an interesting game coming up this week because both, the Vikings and the Chargers are 0-2.
Yeah.
And Minnesota, I definitely didn't see that coming, right? Because losing to Philly, yes, but not Tampa. But
no, well, Tampa, we got to talk about, yeah.
Chargers being 0-2, like the Miami thing, I thought, sure, but not Tennessee. Like that was a surprise to me.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that with the Chargers, so I had a concern with the Chargers coming in, which was that Staley is like not the right coach for Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, you bring in this defense, you've got this defensive guy, he'll shore up that defense for sure. Like he'll help get that defense shored up. It is as bad as ever. And they are going to stay in games against, like the Vikings. They'll stay in games by sheer force of talent because Justin Herbert is so talented.
One little asterisk for last week's loss, because I don't want to forget, Eckler didn't play, and that did change a lot of how they approached that game.
Sure. Yeah, but Jackson went off last week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. Is it Jackson, Joshua Jackson or whatever? Yeah. He had a great week. He did nothing this week. But I don't know. I mean, Herbert is so talented. Go ahead, Mike.
I think I'm gonna do really well this week, although there's no point spreads listed on any of these games.
Just have to go with the one that's out there, buddy.
So I do have a few, I think the Commanders are obviously a surprise. I mean, I thought from the get-go that defense was going to keep them in games, and I'm not really buying the Broncos. I'm glad to see Russell Wilson looking a little better. He looks a little bit more like his old self.
In moments, and then not at all at others.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I've never been a huge Russell Wilson fan, but I like Pete Carroll. So I kind of credited a lot of Russell Wilson's success to Pete Carroll because I think Russell Wilson was probably the most annoying weirdo on that team. And, but that didn't really come out. And that's Pete Carroll's good at keeping that stuff in. But like, as soon as they traded him, it was just like all the little stories come out and you're like, oh my God, like this guy would have been a nightmare, marching up and down the aisle in the plane and all this. Like this guy would have been like the worst possible teammate. And I mean, I could just see, how that kind of, would damage the chemistry. So, him going to the Broncos, whatever. I mean, I think, the Broncos are another team. There's a lot of talent. They're not the most talented team. They're, middling, but they do have some talented pieces. And Wilson will be able to connect to Judy, and he'll be able to connect to Sutton. And would you say there was what?
They're Washington is who they are. They're about that same kind of level. I think Washington's better than we thought they would be.
Yeah.
But Denver's worse than we thought they would be. And they're both about the same.
So, well, I mean, Washington, the thing with me that's been surprising is Washington's defense has not been really particularly dominant. And I expected them to stay in games because of the defense.
Right.
But they've really
I'm just not impressed with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I mean
well, you saw them live too, so
I mean, I think any team with Montez Sweat and Chase coming off each edge, they're going to keep you in game. Those two guys are going to keep you in games, just because the quarterback's never going to get comfortable against them. But their offense has been, fine, not good. I mean, McLaurin hasn't really gotten going yet, but he will. He's been injured, coming off injury. I mean, I don't know. I think Washington could end up being better than we thought.
By the way, seeing him live. The "Let's Go Skins" chant breaks out all the time. The whole
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Entire stadium gets in.
Well, because Commanders is a terrible name.
They're about to be tested on Sunday though. They're playing Buffalo, so
I picked Buffalo in that one.
We'll go over picks in a minute, but I did want to talk about how about the Seahawks Lions? Was that a surprise to anybody?
Yeah, it was to me. The Lions didn't feel like they were the team that showed up in week one. They felt like a different team almost.
And poor Goff almost broke the record. He came half a game short from breaking Rodgers' record. Most attempts without a pick.
Yeah. He went. It was a lot. It was a lot. Um, yeah. I mean, I thought I think again the problem with the Lions, and I said this before. I thought their week 1 win was more a product of what the Chiefs didn't have than a product of what the Lions did. And I still think they are an improving team, but I still think they're overrated. I think the way the Seahawks beat them in OT, I think that on the road, in Detroit, showed me exactly what I thought the Lions were, which is a really good offensive team. And
defense
that's
has
really
moments, though. It has some
they,
bright
they
moments.
have a couple of pieces that are talented enough to have moments, but they don't have a.
Well, didn't one of the corners get hurt? The kid that they signed from Philadelphia.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see. I don't remember seeing.
Yeah,
that.
he was like the stud Philly receiver, or wide corner that became free agent, and they signed him. We'll have to look up his name real quick.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the Bills, the rumors of the Bills' demise was much exaggerated, it seems, but I don't know that the Raiders are much of a test. I mean, for a team that has a quarterback that's there to not make mistakes, Garoppolo sure did make a lot of mistakes. Had a pretty bad day, and I mean, the Bills are just a far more talented team, but we'll see. I think the Bills are a good team, but I'm not sure. I'm really looking forward to Bills Dolphins, that's for sure. And I'm really looking forward to Bills Patriots because I think the Patriots are a better team than I thought they were going to be.
They are. And I'm seeing some of the spreads are coming on here. So
well, let's wrap up last week. I mean, any other big games to talk about? I thought the Dolphins winning in New England was a big deal.
Hey, Atlanta being 2-0 deserves some props. Like they're playing ball right now.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But they I was really surprised they beat the Packers, no question, but they won at home. I mean, yeah, the Falcons are Falcons are a really interesting test case because they are doing something I've never seen done before, which was like, hey, we're going to build a team around some other positions, and we're not going to worry about our quarterback. Like I've never seen a team like, I mean, Ritter just does not look very good. He looks, I don't even know if competent is what I would say. I mean, he's not giving games away, obviously, but he's not like, this does not look like a guy
need him to do.
Yeah, but he does not look like a guy that could win a game for them if they needed him to. He just does not look good. He looks, I don't know.
So I was thinking of CJ Gardner Johnson, the kid.
Yeah.
He got injured in the game.
Gardner Johnson.
He may be done for the season, they're saying.
Wow. But I will say though, sorry, I had the Packers over the Falcons this week.
Oh, I think we all did. Yeah.
Jordan Love continues to impress. I think he looks pretty good. He looks he doesn't, I don't know that I'm going to call him a stud or anything. I think he looks like
stud.
As an unknown commodity, he has come in and been good, solid. He's he's playing pretty error-free football. He's making the throws he needs to make. He's playing pretty well. And I think no Aaron Jones really hurt them. AJ Dillon, you were talking about props and pops. AJ Dillon pop. Because with an opportunity to show that he should be an every down back. Boy, did he flop. I mean, he was terrible.
Speaking of pops, we can just put the Chicago Bears there because they might not win a game. Like they'll probably pull one, maybe two out during the year, but they are a bad football team.
Well, I will tell you one thing, boys. I'm picking them this week with because I think they're getting 12 points.
The Bears.
I don't hate that, but not for the reason you do.
The Bears. I have to say and again, it's only 2 weeks in, but Justin Fields has not taken a step forward at all.
I'm with you.
And
he's the same guy he was last year. 100%.
I am shocked by that. I mean, I'm just shocked by that. He looked like every other quarterback who is maybe a little young coming into the league. Last year, he looked like every quarterback that's very talented, a little young, makes some boneheaded plays, but like, whatever. But like, you can see, you can see where it's going. It's like when Peyton Manning came into the league and went 1-15. You're like, oh well, like yeah, he went 1-15, but you can tell like it's going to be fine. Like
yeah,
he made a lot of stupid mistakes, but you just knew like those were going to get ironed out in the offseason. And Justin Fields looked, I mean, not to compare him to Peyton, because they're apples and bowling balls, as Mike likes to say. But Justin Fields looked to me like this guy, he looks a little like Lamar. He looks a little like Tua. Well, he runs more than Tua, but he looks a little bit like, like a bunch of these guys. And it's like, well, some good coaching and an off season and some film study. And like, he's going to be, and they got him a weapon. They got him DJ Moore. I'm like, he's going to be fine. But man, I mean, maybe David Montgomery was that important. I don't know. I didn't think he was. I didn't think 2 yards in a cloud of dust was that important. But maybe he was.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I said I didn't either. I was agreeing with him.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So this is my hot take for the moment. I've said this for a few years to my buddies. I'll say it to you guys now. I am yet to see an Ohio State quarterback come in the NFL and be worth a shit.
Yeah.
Like I said that when Justin Fields came out, I'm like, nope, he'll probably have exciting moments, but he's not built for the NFL. And here we are. How is CJ Stroud going to be? Right?
I mean, Stroud looks pretty good.
He looks okay so far. We'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe he's finally the one that bucks the trend.
He looks like a rookie. He looks very much like a rookie.
Sure.
And he looks like a rookie that's not coming out of a real pro offense. He looks like a guy who's trying to make some real adjustments. But yes, Stroud looks. I think. I
didn't do that well on Sunday. I will say that.
Say that again.
They didn't do that well on Sunday. They did kind of towards the end. They finally started to get things going. But I would argue that's probably when the defense decided to back off a bit. So things started to free up a bit more because he did not look good the first half at all.
No. But again, he's a rookie, but I think he's going to be fine. I mean, he looks. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. He looks more like a pro style quarterback to me, though. I mean, he looks like he's going to be okay.
Sure.
But the Texans are a bad team. The defense looked okay. They've got, Nico Collins. It's seems serviceable.
Tank
Dell,
and I only know that name because of fantasy. Because otherwise, I'd have no idea who that is.
Yeah, they lack talent on the offensive line, and they lack talent at all the skill positions.
Yeah.
So he's working at a severe handicap. But I don't know. I thought he looked okay. In a game that I didn't really, watch from beginning to end, obviously. All right, one last thing before we move on to this week. I think we got to touch on maybe two things.
We've got 2 games to touch on for sure.
Well, you want to talk what 2 games are you thinking?
Rather 2 teams to touch on, I should say. And for me, that is Miami and Baltimore.
Oh, we got to talk about the 49ers for a second.
Oh, yeah. They did what they were supposed to. I was actually more impressed with the Rams in that game.
That's what I was going to say.
Because of what they did to Seattle and then competing with San Francisco, I'm like, is this team for real? Like, is this actually a decent team? Part of that's bias because we do give Seattle and San Francisco a lot of credit.
Sure.
Just for being good. So,
yeah. So that was what I was thinking, the same thing. I was like, the Rams seem, Matthew Stafford is playing like he's 5 years younger than he is. And
he's not hurt right now. Yeah.
He's one of my favorites, Matt Stafford.
How could you not love saying that name?
Hey, they're two. Am I right that their number 1, number 2 receivers right now are Puka and Tutu?
Yes, and when he comes back from being injured, it'll be Cooper to go with it. So
yes,
it's like
Cooper, Puka, and Tutu. Come on, how could you not love that?
Matthew Stafford is the happiest he's ever been as a quarterback too, with those 3 guys. Like that's going to be wild.
Yeah, I think I expected very little from the Rams, but they look pretty good.
Did we Did we lose Mike? Oh, he's back. There he is.
Here I am.
You touched the video button. All right. So, the 49ers honestly look like the best team in football.
Man, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I don't know.
They look fantastic, no question. But, dude, Miami is on fire. Like, that offense, I want to see that offense meet that Niner defense. That's what I want to see. Like, that will be a lot of fun.
So I'm going to say this. The Miami offense looks fantastic. And
their defense is playing strong too, though. That's the thing. Like, they're a complete team.
They are. And McDaniel, I mean, all the talk of him as coach of the year after 2 weeks.
It's too early for that, for sure.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's what he's done. And I'm not sure. I haven't really seen anybody talk about this, but maybe they haven't. I just haven't seen it. The thing that he's doing with that team is what, it's like what the Ravens first tried to do with Lamar, where they're like, all right, these are your with Greg Roman, the first year and Lamar's MVP year was like, here's your strength. Your strength is running the ball, so we're going to give you an opportunity to run the ball a ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem was he never developed beyond that. So Roman never developed beyond that. McDaniel looks at Tua and he's like, all right, look, you don't have the strongest arm. You're not like the fastest scramble guy. You're not, your head is an eggshell. We got to worry about that.
Yeah.
What does Tua do better than basically anybody in the NFL?
He's the same. He's insanely accurate, and he's basically Joe Montana. He throws those little short slants and the quick crossing patterns probably as well as anybody.
I'm not sure there is a quarterback in the NFL that has a faster release than Tua.
Yeah.
That is the thing that he does better than anything else. And what did they design that whole offense to be?
Absolutely.
Quick release, just throwing darts.
I think it's brilliant. It's the same thing Belichick does whenever he hires talent, it's like, I develop a system that works with the pieces that I have.
Right.
And for him to go, no, Tua is, to Mike's point, one of the most accurate quarterbacks. Like, he puts that ball in really, really tight spots. And so how do I maximize him to the best of his ability to ultimately help the team? It's like the best player on the field is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So how do I get the ball into his hands as much as possible and just let him work his magic?
Sure. No, it's genius.
I think it's great scheming on their part offensively.
It's amazing. I mean, it really is. It's brilliant. But I will say this one thing.
You hate Tua.
Oh no, I have no problem with Tua. I mean, I like his little brother in Maryland.
Nice.
The thing that I will say is this: what does this offense look like when they go to New England in the snow? What does this offense look like in the rain? When weather slows down some of that speed, what do they do? So I'm not really ready.
Tyreek was fine in both.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand.
He outruns everybody in both conditions. So
I am curious to see though how this offense. Yeah, he might be, but I'm curious to see how this offense hums along in bad weather. Yeah. And I'm I am curious to see if there's any of the physical cornerbacks that can like slow Tyreek up. He has been slowed up in the past.
He's strong too, though. That's the thing. Like, he's not just like this little guy like Darren Sproles. Not that he wasn't strong too, but to play that position, you have to be. But like, he's this little dude, but man, he is physically. You see him. People try and chuck him, and he gets off of them so quickly. And it's there. I've not seen anybody actually defend him that well unless they're double teaming him.
Yeah. Well, I thought Belichick provided some tape for how you defend against that team. Obviously not well enough to win, but they played them pretty tight. All right. So then I want to make one more comment and then we'll talk about the Ravens. Zach Wilson is the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, I don't know.
And here's what I'm going to say. Here's why.
I
have never in my life seen a quarterback whose instinct every time he feels the slightest bit of pressure is to run backwards. I've never seen a quarterback every time who feels a little pressure runs backwards. He routinely takes like 18-yard sacks. I've never seen anything like it.
Joe used to do it sometimes. Flacco used to do it. We used to frustrate the shit out. He'd get turned around.
Sometimes, I get it. Sometimes, you run back. Joe used to backpedal because he had such a big arm, and he'd backpedal thinking maybe I can get a guy open. But my God, he didn't get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
Wilson does it. Wilson does it every time. It is.
I had to look, but I agree. But to be fair, he's a backup. Like if we're
but it's an instinct that needs to be coached out of him, and they are not doing it. I mean, I don't know if the problem is Salah or whoever the OC is. I can't even remember who it is over there. They've like, you had a whole offseason to coach that out of him.
Well, they didn't think he'd be on the field the offseason.
Yeah, but you still want him. You still want him to be a competent backup.
Of course, but man,
I
mean, the whole situation just still makes me kind of chuckle. And when you see all these memes, I just steady laugh at the whole thing. It's just, rich. It really is.
Yeah. I feel bad for the Jets because that defense is good, but it doesn't matter. They're going to they're just going to be bad.
No.
Yeah. I wonder if they pull the trade. Everybody's wondering if they'll pull a trade for like Cousins or something. You have to think if the Vikings, now. Like if you think the Vikings go 0-3 right now, let's say they lose to the Chargers this week. Coming after them, they have the Chargers, Carolina, KC. Like probably win the Carolina game. But if they go 1-5, like you're not making the playoffs. So why not, if you're Minnesota, cut your losses, get as much capital as you can. Yeah. And then if you're the Jets, you're already all in and you thought you had the missing piece.
Wait a second. You're about to see one of the most historic runs into the playoffs ever by the Minnesota Vikings. They're about to go on a run that you've never seen. This scenario just doesn't even – it's not even real. Another thing, I mean –
we'll talk in week 4.
I don't see anyone taking – because, I mean, if you're the Jets, you've got Rodgers, you've got Wilson. Who the hell – I mean – no one's going to be desperate. I mean, you're stuck. No one's going to trade for Wilson, I don't think. I just don't.
He makes some good throws. He makes some good throws. He's got the arm strength, no question.
Yeah, he'll get cut. Something else will give.
He needs real coaching.
He is a first round. I mean, isn't he a number 1 pick?
He was. Yeah, it was top 3. I knew that. I don't remember exactly where, but yeah, he was up there.
I remember watching that draft. I was at Miller's Ale House, and I said, this guy is eaten alive in New York, and another bad pick by the Jets.
I think getting out of New York would probably help him too.
No way.
Oh yeah.
He's a baby-faced Mormon kid coming out there. They're going to eat him alive. All right.
I'm good with it. I'm good with that now. Oh, we did not talk about last night that much though. And I want to make one more statement just about
of course.
We don't have to go on and on about Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Cleveland's defense, insane. That is I did not realize they got Jim Schwartz this offseason. That defense is more aggressive and they're gonna be fun to watch this year. And it's sad that Chubb went down because they would have been a fun team to watch. Having said that, I am now on your side, sir. Deshaun Watson sucks.
Yep.
Literally spotted them 14 points last night.
Yeah.
It just was insane. He does not look like Deshaun.
They would have won.
No, he's I mean, barring some sort of radical transformation, he's cooked.
Yeah.
And the Steelers do not look particularly formidable. The defense looks good.
Good defense, which you'd expect, but offensively, Kenny Pickett is done. There's my hot take for you. Kenny Pickett's terrible.
He looks like he has really regressed from last year.
Yes,
I mean look, he didn't do anything spectacular last year except make safe throws.
Yep.
But man, but I'll tell you what, George Pickens looks good.
Yes, they've got 2 stud receivers when Johnson comes back from injury. They're ready, and really, Najee Harris is a good.
What is going on with Najee Harris?
They don't give him the ball, not very much. Line does not create any holes for him either.
I was going to say he was like 4 carries for -3 yards. I don't know why they're not giving it to him.
Granted, they were playing Cleveland yesterday, and I think that defense is going to be trouble for everybody. I mean, look what they. Okay, we gave a lot of credit to Burrow being rusty and the rain and all this stuff.
And the Bengals start bad every year, you know.
But what is that? What if that defense is the why? Like they shut them down entirely. Yes, all those other factors helped, but maybe that's the real factor because they really, really handled Pittsburgh last night offensively.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I would say too. I thought since we're mentioning it, I'm impressed with the Panthers a little bit so far. I mean, they're a better team than I thought they were going to be.
They're a gritty team.
I mean, I expected nothing, and I see something. You know,
they put up a fight with 2 teams in their division already, which is I mean, they did get kind of whopped last night by New Orleans. Like that wasn't that close, but Atlanta, they were in that game pretty tight.
But they were. I mean, you say it wasn't that close. They did what they had. They did what they had to do to stall New Orleans. You know, New Orleans seemed to move the ball, kind of like I always think that the Ravens were great at moving the ball between the 30s. You know, but like they did a lot of that. They let New Orleans move the ball between the 30s, but they did keep them kind of contained by and large. And I'll tell you, Michael Thomas looks good.
Well, they were force feeding Michael Thomas last night. They need to. And I wonder if they were doing that for a reason to kind of work through some stuff between him and Carr, because I think him and Olave are already on the same page. And so I wonder if there's some of that going on, because man, there were times last night I'm like, why are you still going to Michael Thomas? Like you're not spreading the ball at all.
Yeah. But I think part of that is, I mean, I think a lot of questions about Thomas, like what has he lost in the last 2 years?
He looks good though. I agree.
You know,
he
looks good. He looks.
You know,
I mean, he doesn't look back
who he
to
looks
form.
like. He looks like Anquan Bolden when he came to the Ravens.
But yeah,
that's what he looks like. He doesn't have the same speed that he did before he got hurt, but he's still a hell of a receiver.
I still can't decide. I can't figure out if Derek Carr is a good quarterback or not.
I never liked him. But that team will get the camera back in about 2 weeks, which they're undefeated. They get him back, and that could really help them a lot. Hopefully.
Agreed. I mean, again, Derek Carr has played well enough to win, but I can't figure out if he's a good quarterback. The Bucs have been a big surprise too, 2-0. You know,
Baker's playing good ball.
Baker the cake maker. I love Baker the cake maker down there running around.
I mean, he's got 2 fantastic receivers.
Yeah.
And Mike Evans is playing he's like, hey everybody, forget that I'm 32. I'm 26 this year. Yep. You know. So good for him.
He's playing for that money.
He is. It's contract year.
So is Baker the cake maker because his old man stole all his.
There you go. All right. So last thing.
As a segue here, I gotta make an omission just to let you guys know. I think it might be a little unfair of me not to, but I have been listening to Billy Walters' book, Gambler, and I am now mentally taking all his handicapping advice and years of wisdom that he's given me in this book, and I'm going to start using it and applying it to our pick'ems. So I think you're going to see kind of
I hope you're right, because then I'll just start betting with you.
Can you see my picks when I do them? Yeah, you could see them, right?
In Yahoo, yeah, we can.
Okay. All right. So we ready to start going
where to go but up?
Well, let's talk about the Ravens real quick, and then we'll move on. So
we can talk the Ravens,
but I don't think we have to talk too much about them. I thought great game. They look good.
Our defense is absolutely legit.
Yeah.
Like it is so solid. Like if you think about what the Bengals did, they didn't do hardly anything on offense. Like we gave them points.
Yeah.
Lamar looked good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it was that game wasn't as close as it looks.
I agree. And it sucked losing Odell, but it's good knowing it's temporary, because we really want him for the end more than we want him during the season. I thought Aguilar came in and played really well, considering
Zay Flowers.
Zay's a monster. Like that is going to be our Tyreek Hill there.
He is a legit. I mean, that catch, that downfield catch, that was a phenomenal catch.
Yeah, it was.
It was a great throw. It was a great everything. But the catch was anyway. My boy Gus the Bus looked good. I've seen some rumors that the Ravens might try to trade for Cam Akers, which I think is a good idea. They've got problems with him there in LA. He's got a little baggage, but he's I think would be a step up from Melvin Gordon. Gordon did not look great in the preseason. Looked slow.
I don't disagree, but if you're doing something with a vet like that, why not target it to Kareem Hunt, who's sitting out there?
Kareem Hunt would be great. The problem with Kareem Hunt is he cuts into Justice Hill's role, and I don't know that you want to do that. Cam Akers feels like he would slot right in a timeshare with Gus,
sure,
in the same way that J.K. was, and Justice can still be the third down back the way they want to use him. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's you can still have that three-headed kind of monster, and you've got Melvin Gordon for insurance.
It'd be a lot cheaper than Jonathan Taylor would.
Yeah, you can't bring in Taylor. I mean,
but do you think he's any good? Like, when has Cam Akers actually been impressive yet in the league?
No, I that's the thing. I'm not sure Cam Akers is any good. I really don't know that.
Yeah.
Which is why, look, the Rams want him gone. So you don't have to give them anything. Like you don't, they want him gone. So I think you can get him for very cheap. I mean, you could probably get him up for.
And I would also rather us just go pick up Kenyon Drake and bring him back from last year, because he actually was doing pretty well.
I like Cam Akers better than Kenyon Drake. I think.
Where is he? Is he like on the
He's a free agent right now. He got cut.
I hear you, but I think Cam Akers is a more intriguing play than Kenyon Drake.
You think he has more upside, which is probably valid. The others are a safer play.
He's younger.
Yeah. But he hasn't been successful yet.
Kareem Hunt is I love the idea. I just worry that I feel like Kareem Hunt is a guy that could damage your chemistry. I don't think Cam Akers. I mean, I can't tell if he's a cancer in the locker room or not. I'm not really sure what the deal is. But like, Kareem Hunt is going to piss off Justice Hill. And he's been on that team for a few years, and people like him. They seem to like him. So, I mean, bringing in Kareem Hunt is basically telling Justice, hey, this is the guy that's coming in to do your job.
I care about winning more than I care about hurting.
Yeah, but chemistry matters. You know what I mean? And I think that again, if they sign Kareem Hunt tomorrow, I'll be the first one going, it's a great move. I mean, it is a great move. From a football standpoint, it's a great move. To have him coming out of the backfield catching passes, oh my God, I love it.
I kind of feel like you sign Kareem Hunt and he becomes your number one. Like, for us, if you look at the three guys, like, he is better. He's those two guys combined into one. And then they become the secondary back behind him, because he's an every down guy if you need him to be. But for longevity, you wouldn't want him to be.
Right. So anyway, I mean, we'll see. I don't know if they're going to do anything, but
he's going to go back to Cleveland, especially with Chubb going down now.
It makes the most sense.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense.
I picked him up in fantasy because I know he's about to sign there. I'm like, well, why not?
It makes the most sense. Yeah. But what about the Bengals? Burrow looks like he's going to be out again.
They're in trouble this year. That's the kind of injury I bet you is the kind that he has to actually stop and let it rest. Because if he doesn't, it's just going to keep coming up. And
if he doesn't, it's going to be an Achilles.
Yep.
It starts in the calf and then it moves down to the Achilles if you don't, rest that calf.
Yeah.
It is going to be. So the question is, are they 0-4, 0-5 when he comes back and plays? You know what I mean? Like, where are they?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly,
who is their backup?
I don't even know. Jamar Chase he looks slow to me.
Yeah, he doesn't look good
compared to what we saw the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
So it was interesting. They run into the Rams this week, which we'll make our picks here in a second, but we find out, how good that Rams team really is, because I still have respect for the, defense and that team as a whole. So
sure. All right, so let's look at week 3.
That's Monday night. It's a Monday
It's
night.
Monday night.
I do like the doubleheader on Monday night.
One of the two Mondays.
Me too.
All right. So I don't have any point spreads, so maybe you guys have them.
Oh, you
I
don't?
do.
No, mine
Mine
just says off on everything.
That's fine. It's not going to move that much, and I don't really care. So
Giants at San Fran is a 10-point spread.
Say that again?
Yeah, so
Giants at San Fran is a 10-point spread.
Oh, I do have that. Yeah. I mean, in San Francisco, I think, I was glad to see the Giants get going. I think they're going to score some points. They're not going to get shut out again, but yeah, that's a San Fran. With 10, I'll take
them. You're going to take San Francisco, and
I'm going to take San Francisco and 10 points.
I'm taking the Giants plus the points.
I'm taking San Francisco as
well. Cleveland, Tennessee.
I'm going to go Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean Cleveland's getting
4.5
points, right?
I like Tennessee too. I think that defense is legit. Tannehill, Tannehill looks bad and old and slow. But
their defense is good.
Defense is good, and Tannehill's not making mistakes or anything. He's just not, and you've got Derrick Henry still, and he still looks pretty solid.
Their coach is what they do.
That's exactly right. Vrabel's but if Vrabel ever had talent, they'd be real dangerous.
For these next games where it just shows the line being off, we should use what we see on like DraftKings or.
Well, you tell me what that is. So
yeah,
Atlanta at Detroit.
One sec. The Lions are getting 3 points, so they're -3.
Wait, the Lions are the underdog?
No, sorry, I misspoke. The Lions are -3, not getting.
Lions. So. Okay, Lions -3. Sorry.
They are favored. Yes.
Mike?
Atlanta.
You like Atlanta +3?
Ooh, I'm taking the Lions.
I'm gonna take the Lions, but I think they might just barely win they might just barely cover. They're probably I'm gonna take the Lions, but I think that game's gonna be a push. Atlanta looks pretty good. And that defense, the Lions defense,
it'll be a real test.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a good test for
Bijan and what's the other guy's name? Not Etienne. It's
Algier.
I was gonna say it's another French name. Yeah. They're gonna go off. But
yeah, that'd be an interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah. So New Orleans coming to Green Bay.
Green Bay, they're favored by 2 on DraftKings.
I'll take Green Bay.
Yeah, I'll take the Packers.
Yeah, same. Actually, no, hold on. No, I'm going to take New Orleans.
Okay.
I just have they just feel like they're starting to click.
Yeah.
Like defensively, they play good ball, and then offensively, they're just starting to find a rhythm. So we'll see. But I'll take
I think Green Bay's defense is underrated. I tell you what, if Aaron Jones was in this game, I would take Green Bay like all day, but I'm taking Green Bay. But I mean, I'd be much more confident if Aaron Jones was starting, but he's out for what, 2 more weeks?
I think so.
Yeah.
They've got Dr. Love.
But you got Denver at Miami. What's the line on that?
6.5.
Wow, 6.5.
Miami's at 6.5. Yes.
I'll take Miami.
Miami all day for me.
Yeah.
I don't think that's even going to be close.
I'll take Miami. We'll see. Denver's D is pretty good, so we'll see. Be an interesting. See if they can match up at all. All right. Chargers at Minnesota.
The Chargers are favored by a point.
So
it's basically a pick 'em. Who do you think's going to win?
Minnesota, baby.
Yeah, you have to pick Minnesota.
You have to.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers. I think both of these teams have the same problem. Neither one has a defense, but I like the Chargers offense better.
I think the Chargers defense is better than Minnesota's. So I also take the Chargers.
I think Brandon Staley is going to get that defense better. I mean, like that's the whole reason he's there, but it hasn't happened yet, but we'll see. I mean, I think, yeah. All right. The Patriots go to the Jets.
For the game I don't want to watch more than any other this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got the Patriots.
What's the line on that?
The Patriots are getting 3 points.
Oh, they're getting 3.
Sorry. Let me say this right. I'm saying it the wrong way. I'm reading it right and saying it the wrong way. The Patriots are -3 there.
Okay. Yeah. See, because on Yahoo here, the way it's listed, the Patriots are listed as the underdog.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's no line, and they are. Actually, I'm sorry, they're not. That's Yahoo not having updated, is what it is. I bet.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Patriots still. I think the Jets are
same.
The Jets are cooked.
The Jets agree with that, but as you said, Jack Wilson might be the worst quarterback in the league.
I mean, he's so bad. I mean, he really is so bad. All right, Buffalo goes to Washington.
Yes.
The Skins get skinned, baby.
What's the line on that game?
Buffalo -6.5.
Woo! I might take the Skins on this. With that spread.
No.
Yeah.
I'm taking Buffalo.
This is a toughie.
I just don't. For me, it's who Washington has beat.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Buffalo.
Yeah, I'll go Buffalo. I don't like that. I don't like that game. I'll go Buffalo. Buffalo by 7. All right, Houston going into Jacksonville. I think this is another pretty easy pick.
Yes, Jacksonville is -9.5.
Wow, 9.5.
Well,
yep.
Take Houston.
I'm gonna take Jacksonville to cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Jacksonville to cover at home. The Colts coming to Baltimore.
Ooh,
returning. They're coming in some Mayflower trucks.
That's right.
Yeah. Ravens are favored by 7.5.
Wow.
That's a big line.
All day.
Wow.
What did you say, Mike?
Colts.
Man, I hate that line. But Richardson's not going to play.
Yeah, that's why the line is where it is.
Yeah, but that's weird because Minshew's solid.
He is. He absolutely is.
Certainly knows how to play.
No Jonathan Taylor. They're basically.
You know what? I'm going Baltimore. I'm going to switch my pick. I'm going to go Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens.
Yeah, I got the Ravens.
I'll take the Ravens. I hate that spread, but I'll take the Ravens. I think.
I do too.
I mean,
7.5 is a dangerous spread.
I think Minshew is prone to gunslinging right to the wrong team occasionally, and I think our defense looks pretty good. All right, Carolina at Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle is favored by 6.
6, okay.
Carolina.
No, I like the Seahawks.
I do too. I just don't think they're going to win by over 6.
Yeah, I mean Carolina's defense is good, but
yeah, I'm going to take Seattle. I think they're pulling stuff together after that win last weekend. Winning in Detroit is not easy, regardless if Detroit is a up and down team at times. That's not an easy win. So, yeah.
The Bears going to the
I have to look at this one. It's 12.5 points. I remember that one.
I'm betting on all of these spreads that are like this. I'm going to middle them all. Watch.
You keep using that word, and I do not think it. Whoa! Oh wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong league. I just looked at the Jets in Kansas City. I'm like, when did they play this week? I'm just trying to make sure I got the line right for you.
12.5. I mean, God, I hate that spread in the NFL. 12.5 is just.
I'm thinking Chicago.
Poison.
Chicago on that one.
Yes, as am I. And the main reason is not because I don't think the Chiefs will dominate this game, but they are one of the worst teams at covering the spread, year in and year out. For whatever reason, they allow these teams to close the line on them, and a 12.5 spread is a lot of points.
I mean, it's a ton of points.
Yeah, it's not at all about who I think is going to win and everything to do with the points.
But I think the Chiefs are 2 weeks in and they haven't had a game where they've really had an offensive explosion. And Sky Moore started to show a little chemistry. And even Kadarius Toney started to show a little chemistry. So I think
say either of those things.
I know they started to show a little chemistry with Mahomes. I think Kansas City wins, just running away with it. And Chris Jones is back. So I'm going to take Kansas City. I'll break from you guys on that one.
All right.
All right. Dallas and Arizona. Here's another monster spread.
Yes, it is. -12 for the Cowboys.
Arizona. I'm going with
By the
Arizona.
way, 12.5 on here, but DraftKings had it at 12.
Arizona.
With a line here, we go with the line that's on here. Not that it really matters. I don't think it changes.
They'll lock it in anyway, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's Cowboys all day for me.
Arizona.
I mean, I can't imagine Josh Dobbs.
He's playing better than people want to give credit for. Like, he's actually playing decent. I just think he's in for a rude awakening with that defense.
Well, that's what I mean. I think he's going to have Micah Parsons in his hip pocket all day.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, in case that wasn't clear, I'll take Dallas. Man, I hate taking these huge spreads.
Mike, you taking the Cardinals, huh?
Taking the Cardinals. The only reason I think that Mike actually might have a decent play there is that they're at home.
It's a big number for sure.
And Arizona's had 53 straight days over 100 degrees or something. So, it is. But they're coming from Dallas,
right?
So it's not, but it is going to be. The conditions are not going to be favorable to human beings.
Yeah.
And I don't know what impact that has on the defense, but who knows? All right, the Steelers in Vegas.
The Raiders are 2.5 point favorite.
The Raiders are favorites?
Yes, they're -2.5. The Raiders.
Huh.
You got the Raiders in this one.
Yes.
Yeah, the Steelers look so bad. So yeah. I got the Raiders too.
It's the Steelers offense that looks so bad, right?
Yeah.
It's because their defense is pretty good. And I don't know if Minka will be back this week, but if he is, he's a key piece for them.
For sure.
And Watt's just a monster.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not sure what the Watt family fed their kids, but whatever it was.
I didn't get any of it. I can guarantee that.
All right, Philly and Tampa.
Philly is favored by 5.
I'll go Philly.
I am as well. I'm gonna go. I'm just not sold yet that they are who they think they are just yet, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe Chicago and Minnesota. So Chicago is a freebie. Minnesota was a tight game.
Yeah, it was a tight game. They won by 7.
Is that what it was? I don't remember the time. I just remember it was a single score game. That's what I remembered. So
yeah, they won by 6. They won by 6.
Yeah.
And what's the spread?
On this one, it's 5.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take Philly at 5. They'll probably win by 6. All right. And last but not least, the Rams.
If they win by 6, they'll push, right? No. You're right. You're right. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
They happened to me the way last week. That bet when we all 3 predicted last Thursday night, it was only the over that won. It pushed everywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was actually annoying because it came up, said that I lost because it was Yahoo had a 6.5 point spread. So we should have all pushed that game, but Gary, you and I lost. Mike won. But it said it was a 6.5 point spread, but even when I was looking at it, it only said 6, but it must have changed at the last minute or something, I guess. And not that it would have mattered. I would have bet the same way, but still.
Right. That's funny.
All right. So the Rams in Cincinnati.
I got the Rams.
The Bengals are -1.5, so it's more or less a pick 'em.
Okay. That's going to change.
Probably.
Because they haven't ruled Burrow out, but they're going to. Well, maybe they're not, but they should. Because, with that injury, it would be foolish to risk him.
I really want to pick Cincinnati, but I do think because of that risk of Burrow, I would probably go Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go Rams, but that is contingent on whether Burrow plays. I think if Burrow plays, I probably switch that pick. Just because
I'll allow it because I'll probably do the same thing on Sunday morning if I hear or Monday morning if I hear he's going to play.
Yeah, I mean, I just figure I don't see them starting 0-3 if he's starting. But the Rams certainly do look better, that's for sure.
Yeah. We'll find out how good they are, though. How that offense performs against the defense of Cincinnati. We'll see.
I could say the pick distribution here, according to Yahoo, is the Cincinnati. People are picking Cincinnati 57-43. So yeah.
And that'll all change once Burrow gets marked as out, probably.
I was gonna say, but in fairness, the Dallas-Arizona game, 23% are taking Arizona.
It's probably because of that line, though.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Absolutely.
I'm trying to think.
What's the Kansas City and Chicago one?
77-23.
Yeah.
The biggest locks of the week, according to the data here in front of me, would be Baltimore over Indianapolis at 83. People were taking them 83-17, and Seattle, Carolina 83-17.
You know what that means? Bet the opposite.
Oh, wait, no. Miami 86-14 over Denver.
If the public is going that direction, I'm going the opposite on every one of them.
You do that, buddy.
Watch. Mark this is all on tape. What you just said. Public, anytime the public goes one way, the smart money is on the opposite side.
So to be clear,
Coggins Law, number 232.
what is the Colts Ravens spread?
7.5.
Colts Ravens is 7.5.
Take the Colts, baby. Colts all day.
Okay.
Okay.
You heard it here. Then you better take the Giants too.
I am taking the Giants.
Okay.
Let me see the bet. I want to see the bet slip where you put money down on this.
Done. On the text line this weekend, you will see the betting slips. I guarantee.
Do we have the ones that we're doing? What kind of parlay are you running here? You're so confident. We doing 5-teamer, 6-teamer? Oh, you're just going to do. If you had real confidence, you would do a parlay.
No. I stay away from parlays.
That's fine. I'll accept you placing a bet on each one of these.
I'm gonna bet on all these underdogs plus points. I'm gonna bet on the favorite.
Is there
I'm gonna take the favorite line.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's it. So there's probably at least 6 bets right there going in because there's 3 games I like to target.
How much per bet?
I'm probably gonna do $50 per bet.
Okay.
And then we'll see it. I'll show you all of them before the games. Before the games off.
And let me see what the outcome is too.
Yeah, absolutely.
This feels a lot like the roulette thing where if you always double your bet and bet on one color all the time, you'll eventually hit and win. That's what it feels like. And the only risk to that is what happens when you hit a tie.
This year we'll sample, we'll see, lay out my strategy. And
we'll see. Are you tracking it?
I haven't placed any bet week 1, or I haven't placed any bets week 1 or 2. This will be the first place in any bets at all. So,
you need to track the outcome for each thing. That way you see whether it actually works or not. My bet is it probably doesn't. You probably lose more than you win.
Well, I think that's mathematically impossible, but we'll see with my strategy because it's a genius strategy.
I will say this one thing that betting and picking, whatever notwithstanding, while whatever I might not be winning there, I am doing pretty well in the fantasy league.
Man.
You can win. You win early, you lose late, buddy.
Very true.
You know what? I have had that reputation. That's true. I do have a long history of staying first or second place until it matters.
So Mike, I got to tell Mike a story though, because he's going to enjoy this. So we're all in this fantasy league, traditional draft type league, no big deal, right? COVID hits. And I'm like, I am not juggling COVID for this season. We're just going to take a break for a season. We brought it back the following year. And during COVID, though, I had switched to this FanDuel with Friends League, and I played a whole season like this. And it was great. Like, I learned a lot about how different that structure of the game is. So fast forward into the next season, we come back. Brian's doing awesome. I don't remember if you were first or second, Brian, because you were one or two, and I remember
I was first place going into the last week of the season.
Yeah, going into the last week of the season, like
I won 3 weeks.
Another guy had dominated. I'm talking about the traditional league before we got into the FanDuel one. They had gone in, and Mike, I'm sitting there, and I'd had a decent team, but I'm like, there's no way I'm going to compete with Brian and the other guy. So I'm like, all right, so I've got nothing to lose. So I hit the waiver wire and played FanDuel with the waiver wire and won my way into the championship. And I'm like, well, it worked last week. Let's try it again. Did the same thing. And I won by doing that because all I did was play matchups. And that's all I did. And it was like, it doesn't really work because like a guy like Brian had such a strong team. Well, he's not going to drop Austin Eckler because he's got a bad matchup so that he can pick some junky player up on. Like, I had that freedom and they didn't, which is why, kind of. And it was the last time we played in that kind of league, but I thought it was kind of funny.
You like crack the code. I like that.
If you could do it every week, that's the challenge. You can't.
Mike, I've lost in the championship in this league. I had 1 year. The 1 year it was a head-to-head league. We went into the playoffs. I was 13-1. And Priest Holmes got hurt in week 14.
Jeez.
And so all of a sudden I went into the playoffs without my best player. And of course, it's the end of the season. There's nobody available on the waiver wire. I got Priest Holmes out. And so I immediately lost the first round and then lost the third place game. I'm like, I'm 14-1. I've scored like 300 more points than everybody in this league. And then I finished out of the money because the top 3 got paid.
Oh.
I have, yeah. But last year I was in first place in the FanDuel league in the last week. And I finished in second, I think.
Yeah, behind, you know who, right?
Was Quincy? Oh, was it you? Yeah, and it was the same thing. The last week of the season was the worst week I had the whole year. I just cannot pick winners in week 15. But I do like this league because it's you win what is like $13 every week if you win or something like that. So I won a couple of weeks last year. I don't know, man. This week I was really pissed. I finished second in the league this week. I lost by.
Didn't you do that the week one as well?
No, I finished third week 1.
Okay.
But I mean,
you were up there. You knew that.
Yeah, I was up there. I'm number 1 overall right now.
Yeah.
But I was I lost by 0.4 this week.
Oh,
by 0.4 points. I was in first going into last night's games, and I lost by a reception somewhere or whatever. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But whatever. Yeah. I got my team already picked this week, so if everybody stays, as long as everybody stays healthy, we'll see.
Haven't even looked at it yet.
it's past bedtime.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Mike.
Yes, it has. Yeah. And listen, this weekend, Sunday morning, I'm the text line, my bets. I'm throwing them out there.
All right, do it.
And then we'll track. I'm going to have early bets, probably late 4:00 bets. And then we'll see.
All right.
See.
Well,
see how it goes.
Well, thanks for watching. The one person watching this show, this thing. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mom.
We'll get this thing figured out at some point. See you later.
Yeah.